Hey everybody, I am live, ready and excited to talk to you about coaching, to answer questions that you have. Cannot wait to see your comments and find out what it is you want to know about coaching. I am here for it. So we'll wait for some people to hop on and get started. As we get started, I just wanted, to say there are a lot of differences between coaching and counseling. And so maybe I'll just start there and explain a little bit for you. So, when it comes to counseling, you usually go to see a counselor and you receive some kind of diagnosis, right? You find out what it is that you are struggling with, and then they will create some type of diagnosis, and often for insurance billing purposes, right? And they'll create a diagnosis and then they have like a treatment plan for you, kind of like the mental health side of the health and wellness model, like doctors or nurses might use, right? So that's a lot of what counseling is, and they're going to look a lot at your past to help diagnose and help you move forward in your future and get you unstuck. So the difference with coaching is it's not the medical model. It is going to be more of a positive psychology, looking at your thoughts, looking at your feelings, all the connections with how you think, things that are going on without your awareness, kind of in the subconscious level, your limiting beliefs, the things that you have believed since you were a kid, maybe that is holding you back now that you're not even aware of. So coaching brings a lot to your awareness through the right kinds of questions, the right kinds of opportunities, but it is very focused on the client. You come into coaching and the client is the one that is in the driver's seat. With counseling, the counselor's in the driver's seat. The counselor's saying, this is what we're going to do, this is where we're going to go. With coaching, the client says, this is what I'm struggling with, and we work together to come up with the answers that are often already on the inside of you, and I help you find that confidence and that inner wisdom and intuition that gets lost along the way. I help you learn to trust yourself again, to set boundaries, to have a backbone, to connect with what you really want in your life and figure out why it is that you're not getting it and what's in your way, right? So anyways, let's see if we have any questions yet. I'm not seeing any questions yet, but we're just getting started. So that's a little bit about coaching. And I, have spent years off and on in counseling and love it and appreciate it. And I'm so thankful for it. But when it came to coaching, it really helped me to create a plan for my future and for what I wanted to move towards. I have been coaching now for 9 months, but also at the same time, I've been coaching a lot of my adult life. I didn't realize what it was. It's something that's just kind of been a passion of mine. I, was always the kid in school that asked all the questions and would make class take longer because I had another question to ask the teacher. I love asking good questions. I love when I ask someone something and they're like, wow, I've never thought about it like that before. And I like to make people think. I like to make people dig a little deeper to find out what is keeping them from what they want. And that's always been a passion of mine. So I feel like I've been coaching a long time. I have been a nurse for 16 years and have done health coaching as a nurse in that profession also. But when it comes to having my own business, that's been for the last 9 to 12 months that I've been doing that. So yeah, bring on your questions. What else do we have? Looks like we've got a couple people on here. Who would benefit from coaching? How do I know if it's a good fit for me? Who would benefit from coaching? That's a great question. So anybody that feels like they know what they want, but they can't seem to get there on their own, that could be a person that really benefits from coaching. It could be someone that has goals, but they just can't seem to reach them on their own. It could be someone that has trouble setting goals to begin with. People that are really focused on pleasing other people, and they can't really access what it is they want or what they like or what they're feeling. That can also really benefit from coaching. Really, anybody that is able to function in everyday life. They can get up, they can go to work, they can take care of their family, but they just feel like, man, is this all there is to life? Isn't there more? Isn't there joy? Isn't there abundance? Like what? Why don't I feel peace? Why do I feel so anxious and so stressed? That's when coaching really benefits you. If you can't get out of bed, if you have trouble leaving your house, coaching isn't always the best fit for you, because that is where a counselor's really going to help with that medical model, because there might be some medication that you need or some help from a doctor or from a psychiatrist. Whereas with coaching, you are able to function and you have the capacity to dig a little deeper to grow, right? It helps you with your growth plan, your personal growth plan. So if you want to grow and you just need some help knowing what kind of tools and ways to grow, coaching can really be beneficial for that as well. But a lot of times what prevents us from growing is the stuff that we're stuck, that gets in our way. And so we don't grow like we want to. And there's a reason for that. And there's a reason why we're resistant to change. And exploring that can be so eye-opening and so healing. How do you know if it's a good fit for you? Are you somebody that is proactive, is willing to put in the work, is willing to put in the time, to invest in yourself, to say, I'm ready to grow and I cannot grow any further on my own, right? The scripture is really clear. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work. We have this ability when we have a coach to go so much further with their help than we could on our own. And I believe in it so much. I have a personal coach. I have a business coach, because I know that I need somebody to ask me those hard questions. I need somebody to keep me accountable when I cannot seem to figure out, when I can't seem to keep myself on track about something. I need somebody in my corner that I've got, that I have ready, that knows what I need, and they've got my back, right? In a professional capacity. So that's a lot of who would benefit from coaching. Any other questions? I do coach both male and female coaches. I really love the opportunity to coach both, and some people aren't comfortable with that idea, but here's what I tell them. If you're going to see a counselor, you're going to see a male or a female counselor, right? It's very much like that. It's a professional setting. It's not an intimate setting. The majority of my clients are on Zoom. Some come in person, but I'm not going to have a man come in person where it's just him and I. That would be really inappropriate. Not trying to have a date there. So no, but if it's a man, oftentimes it's on Zoom. And what I love about men is men have trouble getting both sides of their brain connected, right? They can be a little more left brain focused, and it's hard for them to connect those two. And so having a female helps them connect with their emotions. And I help draw out those things in them that they have a hard time getting out of their head about. We all have things like that, but with men especially, they're so performance driven. So a lot of times what draws a man to coaching is because they want to grow their business, or they want to grow their professional life, and they can't seem to get a job to move forward, or they can't land the job that they really want. And I help them develop that confidence, because a lot of times, there's experiences in life that you've had as a man that has really brought down that ego, and that makes you feel like you're not good enough. And so I breathe life into both men and women and help you believe in yourself again. That is, if I were to say, you know, a unique gift that God has given me, it is that I can see the potential in you when you can't see it in yourself. I can see what is ahead of you and what you're capable of and your strengths, and I can call that forth in you. And it is so powerful to have somebody see those things in you when you just kind of stop seeing them in yourself. I help you find your way when you've lost it, you know? I help you to discover what you want when you don't know what it is that you want, because you've spent so much of your life just meeting the needs of everybody else. But we're not meant to just serve people because they need help. We're not meant to lose ourselves in that service to others. It is that first you discover who God's created you to be, and then you serve out of that strength. You can give so much more when that love flows from God to you and then out, as opposed to you pouring out to this place of depletion, and you're not using your strengths. You're doing it out of a sense of obligation. And so many people are doing things out of a sense of obligation and not because that's what they are called to do. So, hopefully that answers your question. I feel like the female component is a little more self-explanatory. You know, I coach females. I am a female. I relate to females. But men need women to speak into them too. And I'm really passionate about that because maybe they didn't have a good relationship with their mom and they need that nurturing side. But they need someone to believe in them. And it's important for them to have that from the opposite sex. All right, we have a few more hopping on here, it looks like. Got a few more on. So if you're on here and you're watching, feel free to ask any questions in the chat. I am here to answer whatever you've got about coaching and how it can serve you or serve a loved one that you have. And then if you want coaching, we can do some live coaching here. It can really benefit you to observe other people being coached. And so that is an option also. So I'm here for it. Whatever you want to do, we're having some fun and answering some questions about coaching. Allison, hey, welcome. Welcome to the Facebook Live. Any questions you have about coaching, I would love to answer for you. Anything about it that's curious, got you curious that you would want to know about. There's no off limits question. Anything at all. I'm here for it. Let's see, do you coach about life in general or specific areas? That's a great question. I know, life coaching is such a general sounding thing. A lot of what I address with people is their emotional health and wellness, helping them apply scripture to their everyday life. So getting the truths of scripture from your head to your heart, because, you can believe a lot of things, but your life doesn't reflect what you say you believe. And that can be so frustrating, right? And so a lot of people I coach on why what they believe isn't matching with their life. So let's say, for instance, you're like, I trust God, I believe him, but I have anxiety. So that feels like it doesn't match, right? Like, how could I have anxiety if I say I trust God? But anxiety often stems from stuff from a long time ago, not from you right now. And so it's a body reaction, right? And so if you have beliefs as a kid, right, that you're not going to be taken care of, that you're not going to be okay, then you're processing that as a kid, not as an adult. And so those don't match up. And psychology calls that cognitive dissonance. But basically, your head and your heart don't match. And that can feel like you're a fraud or like you're a hypocrite, but it's not. That's not what it is. There's a part of you that feels this way, and there's a part of you that feels this way. The example I like to use is with smoking. You know, if you want to quit smoking, there's a part of you that wants to quit smoking, but there's another part of you that doesn't want to quit smoking, or you would have done it, right? Like, we're resistant to change. And so getting curious about that and helping people to see, why are you resisting change? What are the benefits that you're getting that you don't want to give up? And let's talk through how we can get those in another way. So specific areas, it really is up to the person. So because coaching is a model that can be used for marriage, it can be used for parenting, it can be used for your emotional health, your mental health, your spiritual health, it can be used for your job. So it's very client driven, you know, where, like I'd mentioned with counseling, you go in to a counselor and they give you a diagnosis. With coaching, it's like, this is what's on my mind. I can't seem to move forward. What do I do about it, right? And so then we talk through that and I ask questions, but we can coach about all kinds of different things. Does that answer your question? Or do you have another question kind of in a, you know, thinking about that, a certain area, or any kind of follow-up question? But that's a great one. That's a great question. One thing I struggle with is developing and sticking with a routine. Not alone in that, me and you both. I mean, with anything, parenting, marriage, work, healthy lifestyle, how would you approach that kind of thing? I'm late to the game. No, Kelly, you're just fine. One thing I struggle with, let's see, is developing and sticking with a routine. Okay, so how would I approach that? So I would say, if you are struggling to stick to a routine, you would want to find out what it is. So we'd want to pick a specific routine. So let's say that it's, you know, that you want to start working out. You know, a lot of people want to add working out to their routine. So you would want to say, okay, obviously, what are the benefits of working out? Well, there's lots of benefits, right? You get more energy, you get strength, maybe you get toned, whatever it is from working out. But the kicker is asking yourself, what are the benefits of not working out? You ask yourself, what is it that I'm getting by not working out? Because those benefits are what I guarantee are keeping you from wanting to work out. So let's say you get to sleep in, right? Or you don't have to like be stared at by strangers at the gym, right? You don't have to feel silly at the gym. Maybe there's shame there. Maybe you don't like anybody, you know, giving attention to your body, right? And so working out is lots of attention on your body. I know for me, when it came to running, for instance, when I would run, I would just beat myself up in my head like, oh, you're terrible about this. What are you doing? It's like I was back in 5th grade gym class, you know, trying to run the mile. It was just a mess, right? And so feeling like you're just bombarded in your head with all these thoughts, like, who wants to do that, right? So I'm just like, I'm just not going to run, and then I'm not going to have all these thoughts bombarding me. So it wasn't really about the running. It was about feeling the critic inside my head, right? So understanding that it's not about the habit that you're trying to start. It is about what is it you're trying to avoid, right? So if you give a specific example, Allison, we can actually coach through that if you want to. But that would be kind of where we would start, is what are the benefits you're getting from not doing that habit and finding ways to meet those needs. So, you know, if you're trying to avoid that critic in your head, well, you want to address that critic, because that's there whether you work out or not, and you're just avoiding some pain that's there that needs worked through. And so eventually that will show up in another way if you avoid the working out. So hopefully that is helpful. Hi, Darlene. Welcome. So glad you're on here. Kelly, do you have any questions? Or Darlene, any questions about coaching or any questions about life? Or we could also do some live coaching on here. Hello, Rebecca. Thank you for joining. Any questions I can answer about coaching or about life, any specific issues, generalized coaching questions? It can be really about anything, because coaching is about your mindsets and the thoughts and the feelings that you have. Let's see, mine is actually working out and eating better. Oh, well, great. That worked out perfect. I didn't know that, Allison, I promise. Mine's actually working out and eating better. I didn't really eat well for about 6 to 8 weeks. I did really well, it looks like, for about 6 to 8 weeks and lost 20 pounds. That's awesome. But then I gave up. That's not the first time. I've really noticed the cycle. Okay, this is really important. Oh, your sister's here too. Hi, Allie. Okay, so Allison, this is big, okay? So they actually discovered that people that, like, let's say they do like a gastric bypass surgery, or they do some kind of big weight loss plan and they lose, you know, hundreds of pounds, a lot of times people gain it back. And the reason is, a lot of times people had a reason at the beginning that they got addicted to eating. Okay, so if they're trying to run from pain, then that's going to be there even if they lose the weight, and they need something to replace that. Otherwise, they're just left in this place of abandonment. Okay, so a great example, because I used to work with the drug and alcohol addiction place, and so at Turning Point. So people would come in and they want to get off drugs, but they got into drugs because they had been abused as kids, or they had had really rough childhoods, and so they were running from pain. So they've been doing drugs since they were like 10 or 12 years old. So all of a sudden they're like, I need to get off the drugs, it's ruining my life. But I'm like, okay, but have you addressed why you started doing drugs in the first place? Because if you haven't, you're going to go back to drugs because that's the only way you know how to cope. So it's serving a purpose. So understanding what purpose drugs are serving in your life, or what purpose having food as a comfort is serving in your life, right? Food is often a comfort for people. If you take away food and you don't know how else to get comfort, you take away something really important. And so you gotta it's not worth it. It's like, I don't care. I don't want to be skinny. I want the food to give me comfort, right? And so it's finding out what it is that you are needing, what need that is meeting for you, and then addressing that before trying to address the behavior. It's honestly what our pastor preaches all the time. You belong before you behave, right? We don't address the behavior. We address the heart and the hurt. And there's so many people that I've worked with that it's like they're trying to just fix the behavior, but the behavior has a purpose. And it has to be addressed in order to be changed, because otherwise you're just going to go to something else. You'll just find some other addiction. Okay, here we go. I was having a little trouble with the service. So resetting your thoughts is to say, like, how do you want to feel? So if you want to feel happy, if you want to feel joy, then are the thoughts you're thinking leading to joy? Like if you're like, oh, I'm so stressed out, is that leading you to feeling joyful? Probably not, right? If you think, man, I'm so stressed out, then you feel stressed. So you want to shift your thinking into, it's going to be a good day. Like, I'm going to make this a good day. I'm going to find something about this day that is redeemable, right? And then shifting your thinking, which will then shift your feelings, because our feelings are a result of our thoughts, not what's happening to us. We have so much control of our feelings when we change what we are thinking. So hopefully that helps. Kelly says, oh my goodness, I still struggle with smoking cigarettes. It's almost like I have almost like I have a relationship with them. I know they're killing me, but I still stay committed. Yes, Kelly, that's exactly what that is. You have a relationship with them. Like you almost have, like they've taken care of you all these years, right? Whether, I'm so glad, Allison. I'm so glad that helped you. It's almost like they've taken care of you, like emotionally, right? They help bring down anxiety. They help you feel safe and secure. It gives you something to hold on to with your hand, right? It gives you something to do with your hands. And if you don't have that, you all of a sudden have an empty space there. You all of a sudden feel like, okay, I have no way to manage my stress. But you haven't had to, right? If the cigarettes have helped you with stress and anxiety, then you haven't had to learn other ways to do that. And so you want to learn those before you try stopping. Otherwise, you'll just go right back to it. Because like you said, it becomes a friend, right? It's so hard to imagine what to do without them. Exactly. And so trying to stop smoking when you can't imagine life without them isn't the time to stop smoking, because you'll just go right back to it. It's like you've got to get to the bottom of that initial like love connection that you got with them. Like what is it that they gave you at the beginning that you didn't find anywhere else? But keeping in mind that a lot of times you were a kid when that happened. So what is it as a kid that you needed that you couldn't get as a kid? And so cigarettes gave that for you. But now you can offer that to yourself in so many other ways, right? You have so many resources now that you didn't have as a kid. So finding out what those are that you need will really, really help you. Hi, Brent or Cindy. I'm not sure which one is watching, but thank you for joining us. It's a real catch-20 because you hate them and need them. Yes, Kelly, preach. It's true. There's a part of you that needs it and wants it, and there's a part of you that is like, I hate this about me. So the trick is offering yourself compassion for whichever part that is. So the part of you that wants to smoke, you gotta love that girl. You gotta love her and embrace her and snuggle her up and give her so much love. And then you also gotta love that part of yourself that doesn't want to smoke, that's tired of it. But you need to have a loving relationship, a self-compassion between those parts of yourself, because what you find is you end up like having contempt for that part of yourself. So like, why can't I stop doing this? Instead, being curious and saying, why can't I stop doing this? Right? Like you have a self-compassion, a curiosity, instead of, I'm going to kill myself. You know, like you want to kill that part of yourself. Instead, you want to be like, okay, no, I'm not going to be critical. Like I was when I was running, right? Like I was critical instead of like, why am I so mean to myself when I run? No, instead I just was like, why am I so mean to myself? So you want to be curious and say, man, why do I like to smoke so much? What is it? When did this all start? What was going on in my life? What need did this meet for me? How can I get this met? Otherwise, it ain't about the cigarettes. And getting peace with that and loving both parts of yourself is a huge step towards freedom. Becca says, oh, I love when you remind me of that. Love the part of me that's struggling too. You really do. I struggle to love that part of myself. I know. And it oftentimes, if you had a critical parent, you kind of just take on that role that your parent did with you. If your parent was really hard on you, then you just take that over and you don't even think about it. And your parent's voice becomes your voice, and you're the one that's got the whip over you saying, go, go, go. You're not good enough. You need to keep working. You need to keep trying. You need to keep striving. instead of, no, you don't have to keep going. You can stop and you can be loved on and you can be accepted. And man, like so many of these mindsets and beliefs started when we were kids. And so we're looking at it as an adult, trying to make sense of it, but it's the emotions of a child. It's the pain of a child. And we get the opportunity now to become a parent to that younger part of ourselves that is still really hurting. And it doesn't need to be beat up and told how terrible it is. It needs love. Kids need love. They need discipline, of course, but they need love. And so offering that compassion to yourself, that honestly, it's almost like the cigarettes has offered you, or the food, right? It's like 100% acceptance. It's like, it's always there for you. It always offers you comfort and support. And it feels like it gets you. And why would you want to give that up, right? Until you can get to that place to say, wow, that makes sense, you're going to continue to resist that change. It's almost like there's a part of yourself on the inside that's kicking and screaming, like, no, I don't want to change. And you're like, come on, we gotta go. But that's not how you get kids to cooperate, right? You love on them and you're like, hey, like, you gotta eat your food, you gotta eat your supper, and then like ice cream's coming, right? You wanna talk to them on their level and understand where they're coming from. And so when you get to a place where that part of you that doesn't want to change, where you can make sense in the part of you that feels so responsible, like we just need to do this, we just need to go forward, like that taskmaster part of you, when you can get compassion towards the part of you that doesn't want to change. Like, I get it. I get it why you just want to sit in front of the TV and eat junk food and not do anything productive. I get it. Like, you're tired, you've had a long day. But we really want to move forward in our life. You know, it's like you sit and it's making sure that every part of yourself feels seen and heard and known and loved and not judged and criticized. Because that's the easy way. The easy way is to just judge ourselves and criticize ourselves. But it is the kindness of God that draws us to repentance, not the judgment. It's his kindness. It's through his kindness that we want to change. And it's through us being kind to ourselves that we start wanting to change. Oh, that's good. Becca, yes. I wouldn't talk to my kids in the way I talk to myself. Yes. I need to give myself the same love too. Liz Beachy Coaching definitely helped me see that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I am so passionate about helping people see that we're so mean to ourselves. And it is through offering that compassion that change really happens, right? Being a friend to ourselves. We don't pick friends that are mean and critical. I mean, hopefully we don't. Hopefully we don't pick toxic people to be in our lives, but we pick people that cheer us on. So we can become that loving parent, that loving cheerleader for ourselves, and we can be present for ourselves and offer ourselves that support. And that will lead to all kinds of change because all that resistance is removed and we're able to be free to do the hard things because we don't have all that energy taken up by all the resistance. What other questions do we have? Any thoughts? Anybody else that would like some coaching? I just started reading the book, I'll Start Again Monday by Lisa TerKeurst. She uses a very useful verse, 1 Corinthians 10:23. You say, I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. You say, I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. It really spoke to me because it's so true. I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. Right. Yes. And knowing that you have the freedom to do anything and then feeling that strength to choose the right thing. It's not through the critique. It's through knowing that we have freedom. And what do we do with that freedom? We make good choices, right? It's kind of like when you take a driver's test. Like my daughter's getting ready to take her driver's test. Oh, pray for me, pray for her. Whew, that's been a transition to think about her being on the road, right? But she's getting ready to take a driver's test. And how do we act when we have someone that's scrutinizing our driving? it can feel so stressful. Like someone is watching your every move. And so do we behave as well? Do we perform as well when we feel like we're being watched all the time? No. We screw up way more. Like you do stupid stuff that you wouldn't do if the pressure wasn't on, right? But that pressure to perform, that pressure to be perfect comes on and you can't think straight. So when you feel the freedom that you can do whatever, right? But it's not all good for you. It's not all best for you. Then you can choose what's best because you know that you have that freedom. You don't have the pressure to be perfect. You have the pressure off of you. And you have the privilege to make good choices out of the overflow and the abundance of a relationship with God that is not lacking anything. You're not in a place of lack or in a place of like this orphan mindset that I just have to keep working and working and going and going. It's no, I can do or be anything I want, and I want to love from that place of freedom, not obligation. Yes. Yeah, that's awesome. So powerful. Thank you for sharing that. That sounds like a really good study or book. I'll start again Monday. Aw, thanks, Allison. You are too. You're an awesome small group leader, and you really killing it with that video. I loved it so much. You and your husband were movie stars. Anybody else have any questions? Oh, this is so fun. All right, I will leave. I'll wait for like one more minute, see if we have any other questions, and then if not, I'll close up here. Hope this has been encouraging to everybody and that you just really take the opportunity to love whatever part of yourself is kind of showing up, you know. If you're wanting to just, oh, there we go. How do you fight off attacks from the enemy? That's good. It's a good question. So how do you fight off attacks from the enemy? Well, my first thought about that is how did Jesus handle that? He used the word, right? He used the word. I'm really struggling to keep going. It can be, excuse me, I've got a fly flying around. It can be exhausting when you feel like the enemy is breathing down your neck, right? And you feel like you cannot, you can't take a breath, right? So the word is huge. The word is powerful. It is an offensive weapon and a sword that you can use to tear down and demolish strongholds. So knowing the word, using the word, but then also I think of the 4 friends, you know, that were so faithful to their friend that they tore through a roof and lowered their friend down to get to Jesus because he needed healing. And so getting the right people in your life that can offer you that support and can fight for you and can hold up your arms in battle, right? When you can't hold up your arms yourself. You need other people speaking into your life. Honestly, it's so important because we lose perspective when we're in the battle, and we need somebody to remind us who we are, whose we are, when we lose sight, when it gets foggy and we can't see. We're not meant to do it on our own. We aren't meant to do life alone, which is why I'm so passionate about small groups, but we're not meant to do life alone. We're meant to support and offer each other that help and that perspective when we lose our way. Hey, Sam! How to deal with feeling continuously overwhelmed? That's a great question. So, feeling overwhelmed is miserable. It's so miserable to feel overwhelmed. When you feel overwhelmed, you want to be aware of what thoughts you're thinking. Are you thinking, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't accomplish anything, I've got so much to do? When you feel like that, it's so helpful to write all that down. I had to do that today because I was so overwhelmed about some things. And so I just wrote it all down, like everything. Just literally, it's right here. I just literally went through and just wrote it all down. Just all of it. Get it out, because otherwise it's going to be clouding everything that you're doing. So become aware of those thoughts. So it's like you're taking it out of the dark and bringing it into the light so that you can see what it is you're thinking, so that God has a chance to speak truth into those areas, and so you can question those thoughts. Find out what thought feels the most charged to you, right? And when I say charged, you're looking for the thought that just makes you feel sick to your stomach, or it causes a bodily reaction, like you feel tightness in your chest, or you feel like you want to throw up. Something that's giving you some emotional reaction. And that thought is what you want to take, and you want to work with that. So what I do with my clients is I help them take it through what's called a creation cycle. So you take that thought and you say, okay, so let's say that your thought is, I'm never going to be able to get everything done. Okay. So if that's your thought, then you say, well, what kind of feeling does that thought create? Well, that creates anxiety and overwhelm, right? I'm never going to be able to get it all done. So then what kind of action does that lead to? Analysis paralysis. You just would rather go eat Cheetos and play video games. Like, you just don't want to do anything because there's so much to do. So you don't end up getting anything accomplished, or it's like way pressured. And so you're not on your A game with your mind, right? You can't focus clearly to do what you need to do. Instead, you're overwhelmed. And so you can't think through it. You're too emotionally involved. So what you want to do is you want to decide what it is that you want to think instead. Like, that thought's not serving you, right? To feel overwhelmed. You want to have compassion on that part of yourself that feels overwhelmed. You want to love on that part of yourself and say, man, I get it. Like, I'm overwhelmed, but what do you want to feel? You want to feel in control, right? You want to feel decisive. You want to feel, and it could be anything. So I'm just giving an example, but like, if you want to feel happy about your day, so then you want to think something that would lead to that emotion. So instead of feeling overwhelmed, like, you could think, I'm good at making decisions, right? If you think I'm good at making decisions, that feels confident and happy, right? Because when you're feeling overwhelmed, you're doubting your ability to make good decisions. If you're not doubting your ability to make good decisions, then you won't be overwhelmed, because you'll just be making them and going, and it's fine. But you get stuck and you feel overwhelmed because there's emotions that you're avoiding, or there's decisions you don't want to make. So you want to believe that you're good at making decisions and you know what to do. So I know what I need to do next, or I'm good at making decisions. So let's go with the I'm good at making decisions. If that hypothetically is the thought that you want to think, that feels so much better, right? I'm good at making decisions. That feels confident. That feels hopeful. That opens up your mind to possibilities that you couldn't see when you were feeling overwhelmed. And what does that lead to? That leads to feeling in control, and then that leads to good decision making, and then you get out of that overwhelm. So hopefully that is helpful. It all starts with shifting your thinking, because the more you keep thinking those negative cyclical thoughts of like how bad it is, how overwhelmed you are, how much you have to do, it's going to just stay up here in your head. So get it out of your head, write it all down, find that thought that is giving you wreaking the most havoc, and bring that to the light and address that. So hope that helps. Okay, Kelly says, yes, it's like he's holding my head underwater. Oh, that sounds awful. I pray and I pray. It's like if I get close to God, I get attacked. If I stay close, he attacks my family. It's so exhausting. Oh, yeah, that is exhausting. It is exhausting. So I pray and I pray, I go close to God, I get attacked. So part of me wants to think and wants to say, like, oftentimes if we're getting attacked, it's because we're doing something right. And it's because we are making a difference. And the enemy doesn't like that. He doesn't like when we're making a difference. He doesn't like when we are having an impact. And so we are going to get attacked. And so almost seeing that as a compliment, like, oh, I am a threat to the enemy, and he's getting a little nervous when I am moving and shaking things in the kingdom of God, and he doesn't like that, right? So, but not being afraid of him, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And so as soon as you feel like he is taking you out or overtaking you, then taking a step back and getting that support from other people, because the perspective needs to shift. Because that perspective that you are being held underwater, that's not serving you, right? You need people to surround you with hope that, yes, we will be attacked, but that is not where we live, and that's not where we have to stay. And see, just right now, Allison is saying, I felt that way before too, Kelly. Sometimes it's hard to push through the attacks, but it's so worth it. Yes, that's what you need, Kelly. You need multiple people speaking into you that it's worth it, that it's worth the fight, that it's worth it to keep going, that you don't have to keep feeling like that, and it won't feel like that forever, and that you are on the right track. If you're being attacked, you're on the right track. Rebecca says, yeah, what a good personal example. Yes, thank you. You have been such an example of that to me in thinking through those overwhelming thoughts. We all have them. That's why I have a coach, because, brain surgeons can't operate on themselves. Not that I'm a brain surgeon. No, not a brain surgeon. But if you think about that, like, coaches need coaches. Counselors need counselors, right? A lot of times, like pastors need a pastor over them to support them. Like, you can't help yourself through everything that you go through. You need other people. And so, if I was a brain surgeon, I would need somebody else to operate on my brain. And I need someone else to walk me through things, because I get stuck, right? You get stuck in the emotional side of your brain, and you can't logically think your way out of it, or you get too stuck in the logic and you're disconnected from your emotions. So it's connecting these two sides that is so important. Yes, Kelly says, I'm not giving up. I just feel like I'm at war. Remember that you're not alone. Remember that you're not alone, Kelly. And it is, like Allison said, so worth it. So worth it to push through, to stand on the word, and to get that support outside of yourself. There's no shame in that. Anybody else? Any other questions? This has been awesome. You're so welcome. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable, so that other people can learn and grow as they hear what you're struggling with, and they can relate so much. So relatable. I do want to do this again. Yes, Tuesdays. So we'll do this again. Either next Tuesday or the Tuesday after. We'll put it on, we'll post it to make sure that you see. And so you can hop on here. You can always DM me with questions to include on the live, or you can, put a comment under that announcement about the live, and we can include that, or you could just hop on here again. But invite your friends. This is such a great way for people to get exposed to coaching, to what it is, to my version of coaching, right? Because you've got all kinds of different coaches, and they all have their benefit, right? And understanding what it is that I really support and encourage, so that I can help you in my unique way, so you can see, what it is that that coaching is all about. in my little corner of the internet. So thank you so much for being on. This has been awesome. I have a few different people I think would love this. I'm telling them about it. Yes, so please tell your friends and share the live when you hop on, and then other people can hear about it. So this has been awesome. Everybody have a great night. See ya.